All right, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I know it's hard to believe it's afternoon, but it still is. All right, let's try to move efficiently. We're going to go through everything but gaming. We're going to get all this other stuff done first. I've got Senate Bill 259 to concur on the Department of Transportation, we believe. Senator McCray?
Yes.
Is that what we want to do?
Yes. This is what we want to do. Senator Peters held it, though.
Yeah,
I
right.
have a language that I went over with Secretary Slater. Is that all right?
You have language?
Yep.
So then we would not concur.
Yes.
Okay? Do we want to,
I haven't seen the language.
you what?
I'm going to text it to you right now.
Okay.
Can we come back to that one?
Sure.
Okay.
Senate Bill 19.
Senate Bill 19, this is a bill dealing, this is one dealing with the biotechnology investment incentive tax credit. You do have a reprint on your desk with the House amendments. And I kind of did some little notations there for you. Essentially, it did on page 2 of the bill, it said in terms of who a qualified investor is, it excluded founders or current employees if the company has been in business for more than 5 years. On page 3, it's basically a sunsetting the credit beginning June 30th, 2028. On the last page, the House added a report that the department needs to report on, including the number of brand new investors that have applied, and as well as the number of years that the company's been in business, and the years that they've received the tax credits. And then finally, at the bottom of page 4, they included a study that the Department of Commerce has to do, looking at any methods or criteria for awarding that they could use if they were to switch to a competitive basis.
Okay, everybody good with these amendments? Get this ball rolling here.
Which bill? I'm sorry.
What?
Which
Yes.
bill are we on?
19.
Thank you.
I'm okay with them.
All right, everybody okay? All's in favor? Hands up. All right. Concur. Senate Bill 160.
All right, Senate Bill 160, this is the one of the previously named cybersecurity. It's now the investment incentive tax credit under the new names.
Yep.
You also have a reprint on your desk. Bill page 2, that's just a conforming amendment that the first draft neglected to carry forward the renaming to another provision of law. And they also, some of the things that I just described for biotech, they also did for this, which is specifically limiting a qualified investor, that you cannot be a founder or current employee if the business is more than 5 years old. They added a purpose statement for what the purpose of the now Innovation Investment Incentive Tax Credit is. And then they also did the same reporting requirement, requiring Commerce to look at potentially awarding it on a competitive basis as opposed to first come, first serve.
Everybody good with this one?
Yes.
All's in favor? Okay. 196.
All right,
R&D.
196, this one deals with the research and development tax credit. Again, you have a reprint, and the only amendment here that the House did is on page 3 of the reprint. They added the purpose statement of the purpose of the R&D tax credit program.
Does it make sense?
It's yes. It's me.
Okay. All those in favor? Just, you never know, something crazy. All right, concur. Are we ready for 259? Senator McCray, do you see the amendment?
Yep. I told my colleague I don't mind standing with him.
Okay, so I think we need to, what do we need to do? We need to go to committee?
Not concur.
Yeah, right, go to conference. All right, what's the amendment to?
It adds in Southern Maryland Road and Bridge Transit Network into the, one of the categories. You got
And
B&P
what-
Total, you got the State Preservation of Highway Roads, and then you got the State of Good Repair, and then you're adding this in there.
Okay. All those in favor and not concurring and go to conference. Okay. Senator McCray, Senator Peters, Senator Edwards. Okay. On to the sheet. Let's start at the bottom. 1245. Oh, yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah, right. Okay. Let's just do 1245 real quick.
This is a bill that EHE is primary. There was no cross-file. This deals with two programs, one the Guaranteed Access Program, and the second one is the Next Generation Scholars Program. In terms of the Guaranteed Access Program, there's currently a practice where students, if they meet certain criteria, they can pre-qualify in 7th and 8th grade. This bill adds 9th grade. And then for the Next Generation Scholars, first of all, the program was, let me catch my breath. First of all, the program was made permanent. It was initially going to expire in 2023. And secondly, some of the services that eligible students would receive are listed here, and what the bill did was add matriculation assistance to some of those, to that list of wraparound services. The mandated amount would continue in perpetuity beginning in fiscal '23 at $2.5 million. And then finally, there is a reporting requirement, and this adds an item on which to report for the potential for allocating additional funds for longitudinal data collection. The EHE vote was a favorable vote.
Senator Rosebach.
I'm having some discussion with Senator Pinsky about it. I'd like to hold this until I conclude the conversation.
Okay, hold that, Bill.
Thank you.
All right. Two things that were left over from last time I forgot to bring up. One, we had that Fairhill bill, and we had decided to go not concur. I've had some subsequent conversations. There was some money put in it, as was mentioned the other day. I'm still personally disappointed. I think we should fund it at the higher level. But it appears that all the parties believe that they can do what they need to do with the money that's being presented, and they're willing to go through the budget process again next year, and they're fine leaving it the way it is. So I'm fine moving to concur based on that. Senator Eckert.
Understanding there was at least $1 million in the governor's budget, and then we put like 500,
I
didn't
think it's
we?
the reverse of that, but
Oh, okay, but it's 1.5, and they think that's adequate for getting it going,
Yep.
right?
that
Yep.
is correct.
Second.
So move to
Second.
concur. All those in favor? Doug? Thank you. All right. Now, also yesterday, I held House Bill 44. We're second on this. This came out of Finance. I think it came out 10-1. Is that right?
That sounds right. Yes.
This is the Clean Car Act. We have a reprint. I don't have any further concerns.
I've gotten a ton of emails about it today.
Right, so I would move that we move forward. Senator Eckert?
There was an amendment that was put on. Can that be pulled off, or has that already been done?
You could do that. I find it to be part of the policy decisions committee's decision-making process. And since they've already moved forward with it, I personally think we should stick to our own stuff.
Has there been discussion with the Finance Committee on that, since it interrupts contract, from my understanding?
I don't know that it interrupts the contract. I think it might slow down a RFP.
I think there's something already in process, though. Yeah,
I think the RFP is in process, yeah.
right,
Yes.
correct.
But, and like I said, it seems to me that within their purview as the policy committee. But, I mean, anybody can make a motion. Senator Edwards?
Oh, that was my question. I think it slows it down probably a year
Yep.
at the minimum.
No. No.
Any further discussion?
I mean, there's a process, and they want this report done before they're done with the process. So I do think it just kind of disrupts what they normally do. I'll put it that way.
Senator King?
Is this, some of these concerns that people have, are they things that we can come back and fix next year if we need to?
Give me a comment. I mean, who's this? Is this, it's
What are
yours,
the
right?
concerns?
Oh, Fitzgerald's has an issue.
Is this in
I didn't get
relation
that
to
one.
the tax credit for the electric vehicles?
Yeah.
No, I think it's aviation.
Is that what it is?
I think so. I think it's the BWI aviation bill.
Okay.
Does this go, if the amendment stays on, does it go to conference with the House? Or does the House, what is,
This is just to,
Okay.
I don't know if it, so I assume that they are moving not to concur.
Well, the Senate's acting on the House bill, so then it would be up to the House whether to concur in the Senate
Right,
amendments
right.
or go to conference
Right,
on it.
right. Senator Eckert?
I was just looking at it. It requires legislative oversight of any substantial changes to the VEAP program. So I think that was the major concern, right?
I believe that is a big part of it, yes.
And the request came from several different places to pull that off.
Senator McCray?
Mr. Chair, I know you know about it, but just in reference to our colleagues, and I'm going to bring them up to speed. This came before our respective subcommittee. One of the issues was that NBA had a contract that was out there. This is not the first time that this happened. It happened previously in years past, where it used to be 2 years for these new cars that you would be able to go and get your test. They have moved it over to 3 years. DLS had made a suggestion, recommendation in an official manner that said that this is more than likely a policy issue, that the agency shouldn't just be doing these types of things. The agency has came and now put in for 7 years. So instead of doing 1 year, we moved from 1 year to 7 years where these new cars wouldn't go through this emissions test, and that is a level of concern. I wrote a letter to the agency. JPR chair and E&T chair also wrote a letter to the agency, so it was very concerning that they put this out for some form of bid without even alerting the respective legislators in reference to this new position that they were taking.
Senator Edwards?
So if we vote for this the way this is written, is this different? Or we're amending the House bill, so it would have to go back to the House for concurrence. Is that correct?
Correct.
So we're not the lead.
Correct.
Finance is, I guess, I think. Finance. So if there's they passed this, I think 10-1 or something
Correct.
like that. So maybe we could, if it's going to go to conference committee, that's fine, or ask the lead committee to relook at what we discussed here before finalizing.
I think
stuff.
I think they're aware of it. I mean, I've discussed it with their committee staff, so I know they are aware of it. And I think the description that Senator McCray outlined sort of lays it all out. And I guess it's really just a question of whether or not we think they should make that kind of a change without having the policy committee weigh in. And evidently, the policy committee is weighing in.
I think if there's a difference and it's going to go to conference, and I think that's fine. At least it'll be relooked at, so to speak.
I mean, it's completely up to you if you want to. I don't want to stop you from anything. Senator Eckert.
Thank you very much. My understanding is that this would be a significant policy change on the part of the legislature than before, since they had already, I think there already was budget language to require them to report on changing, but then withholding that contract creates more problems. That's what Senator McCray was addressing, correct?
I think it's a little bit of two different things. I asked the secretary about this issue, and he wasn't even aware. He had to dig deep into it and take about a week and a half just to respond back in reference to why they were taking this strong position in reference to letting out this bid when DLS had already made clear intention that this is a policy issue that should be dealt with the legislature. Senator, as stated, 1 year was what it was done at the first time, and that was a soft touch. But now they're going from 3 to 7, and they're jumping into our lane in this, as the chair stated, where the legislature has to step in and say, we have to weigh in on this issue. This is a very important issue in reference to, as we're talking about the environment, as we're talking about how we're going to proceed forward. And some would say that the agency took a very excessive position when they put that out and didn't let us know. And like I said, I think that the NBA administrator did know. But at the moment when asked about this question during our subcommittee hearings, he was not able to respond to that.
Okay. Yeah, it was just a concern that they would have to go before the Board of Public Works for the next contract, right?
The position that DLS had took, and I'll make sure that I print out a copy for you, but DLS said that they believe that the legislature should weigh in reference to the number of years that we are doing for our emissions with these new cars. So when it was done the first time, they said, hey, it happened, it was 1 year, but the legislature should be weighing in reference to this is a policy piece, whether we should be doing 3, 5, 7, 10, 15. That isn't, the agency is taking a very strong position in doing that.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
Senator Edwards?
Yeah, I did talk to several members of the committee last evening, actually, about this particular issue, and I said, who was the one? And comment was they were this particular person, but they got an amendment on it. He was after, so then he voted for it, so it was unanimous, and they just didn't change it on the vote sheet, I'm told. Just to clarify that part.
Yeah, no, I think that number on the vote sheet, at least from what I understand, is the vote on their final vote on the bill, not the vote on any amendments that were taken up.
According to him, unless I
understanding.
misunderstood him, he said they did get something on there he supported, and then they didn't get his vote right, and he voted for it, which made it 11-0. I might be wrong, but I thought that's what he said.
Oh, I see what you're
He's
saying.
saying
Yeah.
it was unanimous after.
You think it was unanimous after
Yeah.
all? I
Yeah.
see. Gotcha. Is there a motion?
Second.
Okay, motion for favorable. All those, or you have a question, or you're ready to vote? You're already voting. You're jumping out there. All those in favor? Okay. That was unanimous, Okay. Back to the sheet. Let's take up 154, Senate Bill 154, and it looks like 18 are the same bill.
Yep, and you have, your reprint is of House Bill 18, so you can use that to walk through.
Is it, do the amendments and everything try to make them the same bill?
Yes, the Senate bill would match the House bill.
Okay, so now
So
we
walking
know it's
through-
all the same, so what are we getting?
Yep. So, Mr. Chairman, it's a lengthy bill. With a lot of policy, I don't know how much you want to get into that or just straight into kind of the B&T jurisdiction. You do have a reprint on your desk where I kind of annotated it with what the various provisions, or how they're just generally organized in terms of the policy and what that's dealing with. I can certainly walk through that if that's your preference.
Well, I mean, in general, what does this bill do?
So in general, and under the amendments from JPR, well, initially the bill came in basically establishing a system of using nonprofit organizations and community organizations to provide a right to access to counsel in provision and proceedings of evictions and some other landlord-tenant issues, as well as like marketing and informing tenants that this service is available. What JPR did, however, is they altered it from a right to counsel to an access to counsel. The provisions about, the bill has never had a mandate in it, but it sets up a fund, and the fund can be, as provided in the budget. The goal would be to, as introduced and under the JPR amendments, the goal is to phase in this program so that it's fully phased in by, by October of 2025. JPR also altered it so that the Maryland Legal Services Corporation is kind of the umbrella entity that would manage this program. And they did some other alterations in terms of when a sheriff would serve process for eviction notices, that a pamphlet would have to be included to let the tenant know about these services.
So our part is just simply the fact that they created a fund, a holding vessel, if you will, but it doesn't require any money into it.
I believe so, yes, that's the only thing dealing with
So,
that.
yeah, so let me try to make the system clear, if I can. So Maryland Legal Services provides lots of different kinds of services to indigent clients who need it for access to counsel, right to counsel, in civil cases that involve domestic violence, tenant disputes, child support, child custody. There's a whole lineup of issues that they help with. What I believe what's happening here is that there's another bill out there that raises fees to help deal with the landlord issue, in large part because of everything that's been experienced this last year. Not that it already wasn't a problem and people weren't getting universally represented to begin with, but COVID has sort of exacerbated the problem, at least conceptually, and once it's clear that the freeze on evictions and money that's out there provided by the federal government may not cover all costs, all those kinds of things, that there's going to be a need for representation in these cases. So Maryland Legal Services, I said, does all these different kinds of things. This is a separate fund that they wanted to create that will deal with just the landlord issues. Maryland Legal Services will oversee that. However, that's not their whole game. And as you may recall, we've already passed my legislation that added money from the Abandoned Property Fund to help support that. Now, they're actually sort of in worse shape because of the pandemic as an institution, which is an institution that was created by the legislature in 1982. So they, in the fee bill that presumably is going to come out of JPR, will be getting money to go into this fund for evictions, and also getting some additional money to get their budget up to whole again. So that's the framework of all of this. All this does, and other than setting up probably a lot of policy things that, quite frankly, I'm not familiar with as it relates to the fund, but it does create the fund. So that's sort of the nature of it all. If that bill doesn't pass with the increases in the fees, there's increases in fees that relate to both district and circuit court, as well as what's called summary ejectment.
Judgment?
What's that?
Summary judgment?
Was that right? Ejectment, yeah. Summary ejectment, that those fees that are related to that, essentially it's the fees that landlords pay in when they want to have someone evicted. So if that doesn't pass, then there won't be any money going into this fund, and there won't be any additional money for Maryland Legal Services. I hope that's clear. Senator Rosenthal.
I think it is clear. Basically, this just sets up where the money goes if there's money.
Some of the money, yes.
It sets up where some of the money goes if there's money.
Right, some of the money that's related to
I understand.
landlord issues.
Is there any reason I shouldn't move favorable?
I think it's fine.
I move favorable. Seems pretty
Everybody
straightforward.
understand? Everybody questions? Okay, all those in favor? Those opposed? Okay,
All right, so that's
you
for
get
both
that?
Senate Bill 154 and House Bill 18.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just for the record, there is a letter from the building industry regarding this, that they think that although the bill is well-intended, it may have unintended consequences that impact additional cost for landlords and tenants, and be a disincentive for all involved. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if there's some other policy issues that they're looking at, but I assume it's because they believe that the other piece of legislation will pass, and therefore those fees have an impact on landlords. Okay. All right, we are, of course, second on those, so they will handle that. All right. Now, we've got Senate Bill 849 and House Bill 1180.
Right. So you have House Bill 1180 on your desk as a reprint. The Senate bill is just on the list if you choose to do anything with that one. The reprint is exactly the same as what you all discussed yesterday, and it was held. Just a reminder, this is the one that has the two parts. One is about the airport noise, and the second one is about peer-to-peer car sharing program, both having to do with BWI.
So it needs to be amended with that, right?
Yes, the reprint has that amendment in it that you all saw yesterday and is on your desk again today.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion?
Second.
Everybody understand what's there? Okay. All those in favor? Okay. Very good. That was as amended.
Okay. And would you like to move on the Senate bill as well and see
Yeah,
if that can make it over?
Yeah, put them in the same posture.
Okay.
Senator Elfreth. Yeah. For both of those. Okay, I actually think we get to the main event. Am I right? All right. House Bill 940.
House Bill 940 is the gaming regulation of fantasy and implementation of sports wagering bill that the committee was discussing yesterday. You should have a reprint in front of you that should take into account everything that we went over yesterday. For a recap, I'll hit the highlights. If you'll recall, the licensing. The amendments would take away any caps on licensing and then create 5 categories of licenses. 4 of those licenses are physical, in-person only licenses, the A1s, which are designated licenses, the big casinos, Laurel Park and Pimlico, which is one licensee, and then certain sports facilities would be eligible for those. The A2s are the smaller casinos. The B1s is anybody who's not a B2, and the B2s are anybody with less than 25 employees and less than $3 million in gross receipts. You then have. Did you want to clarify that, Senator Zucker?
Yeah, I did. If the committee wouldn't mind, I just think if I'm asked a question on the floor, I think it might be helpful to have some clarity there, what we mean by $3 million of gross receipts, so I can explain it. Is it just business receipts? So assuming that they're a business and they can show that this is what they have in terms of income. I just needed to get a sense of sort of what our intent was, or how much they've been spending in the market. I just needed to get
Let me ask this. Who will they report that to?
They would report that to the Lottery Commission when they apply for the license.
Correct.
Do we want to just give them the right to define how they receive that information?
And Mr. Chairman, that was sort of the posture that we were in yesterday. I just wanted to make sure that I knew exactly what we were doing on that, because what we had yesterday was that it would be 25 employees or less, and then I think there was a discussion about 50 employees or less, but I think in the bill it says 25 employees or less, and I think or this 3 million gross receipts. And the way we left it was the Gaming and Lottery Commission would define what that means, but I just wanted to throw it out to the committee to just give input on that and let us know where we want to go.
Senator Griffith?
Thank you, and I think that sounds fine. I know that we got those numbers not from the air, but from the Small Business Reserve, so I don't know if that fund gives any direction in terms of how they calculate the 3 million, but if so, we can certainly let the Lottery Commission know that, so that they have some guidance for consistency.
Okay.
I think no amendment is needed if you want to leave the interpretation to the Lottery Commission.
Go ahead, Senator.
Senator Griffith knows this stuff inside and out, so just to go off of what she was saying, the way that SBR describes it, it would say so it's dealing with their retail operation. That's where we got the 25 persons, or the gross sales of the business did not exceed an average of 3 million in its most recently completed three fiscal years. So gross sales.
Okay. Senator Corbin.
One I actually thought of with the B2 with the 25 million or 25 employees, 3 million. What happens if they become successful and then they exceed those they get in, they're under 25 employees, $3 million, but then they become a profitable establishment. Now their gross receipts exceed that. What happens after that?
Senator Zucker.
Thank you, and I know Mr. Bennett could jump in as well. Let me echo my friend, the senator from the Eastern Shore, say it's not only important for these small businesses to be successful, but to grow. That was, I think, her language directly. So what would happen is, and I think we discussed it a little bit yesterday, was we have this 5-year license renewal. Right. So after 5 years, if they hopefully are successful into that next class, then they would
They would go to the next class then?
Correct.
At the renewal period. Okay, that makes sense.
Is that your interpretation, Mr. Bennett?
Yes, that is
And
correct.
I assumed that, I just didn't want to, that.
We don't want to assume anything. We want to get it right, right?
Absolutely. The other question I had, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, was in regards to the licenses themselves. Is there a limit as far as how many a certain entity could get, whether they're in-state or out-of-state, as far as, the A's, B's? Is there a limit as far as how many?
Can we hold that one for a minute? I just want to finish up on if there's any more questions.
No problem.
Because I think Senator Peters might have had something he wanted to raise to the last question, if I'm right.
No, I think the issue was it was 25 and so we changed it to or, which I think really helps solve the problem.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. So it did get changed that way, correct? Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Okay.
It says or.
Okay. All right, so is this related to this issue? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you very much. So we are leaving it at 3 million in annual gross receipts. I thought we had changed that.
We changed it to or,
And it's
25 employees.
correct. Or, right, but that's 3 million annually gross,
In sales.
gross receipts.
Well, I think it was defined, we were using that SBR program.
This
Right, I'm
says,
just asking if we were going to amend that further than what is appearing in the bill right now.
yeah, this just says, the way that this fund has it is it did not exceed an average of 3 million its most recently completed 3 fiscal years, and obviously if it's new business, it might not have 3 fiscal years. So, so the way that I believe the committee was going yesterday in concept was no more than 25 employers, no more than 25 people employed, or 3 million in gross sales.
Annually.
Right.
Okay, thank you, because
Okay.
we weren't sure that this morning. Okay, thank you.
Senator Stein, do you have a question about that, or we're moving on? Something else? Okay, Senator Corderman.
No, it was just the follow-up question there was in regards to, was there a limit as far as, on the licenses, as far as whether it's an in-state or out-of-state entity, of how many they could actually obtain or procure, whatever you want to call it?
So, Mr. Bennett, do you want me to answer? I mean, I know we both can, so I don't want to.
You can, I can.
So the bricks and mortar has to be in the state. If you're a mobile app, you don't have to necessarily be housed in the state. You can't have, if you're Quarterman and Zucker, you can't have more than one license, except you can't have like an A and B, but you can have an A and a mobile license.
Could you, though, get multiple mobile licenses, I guess would be my question as far
If you're the
as-
same entity, no, you can't get more than one mobile license if you're the same entity, but you can, if you are a Class A or B, you can partner with, or if you're a mobile license, you can partner with multi-A's and B.
Okay, thank you.
Did I get that right, Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Say that one more time, because there has been, I have gotten some feedback about this.
Yeah, so and we could speak to that because Senator Peters also wanted me to bring it up. So right now, you have an A and B, and you can only have a Class A or B license. If you're a mobile license, if you hold a mobile license, you can partner with multiple license holders. The reason for that, and Senator Peters really wanted me to bring this up as well, and multiple senators have approached me on this, that some stakeholders are expressing interest to have a mobile licensee only be able to partner with one license holder. So if you're a so if I have a mobile license, I can only partner with a Class A or a Class B and no more. The issue is we're really trying to expand and grow your minority businesses. So if you have company X, and I'll just say it's FanDuel, and they partner with a casino. Well, we're trying to expand the Bs. So if you're expanding the Bs and you've already locked out these other folks, it begs the question, why do we have unlimited Bs if we're limiting their opportunity? So I understand where the stakeholders are going on that. They've been good partners. It's just that we want to have those that have skins, the mobile apps, to be able to partner with multiple entities in order to make sure that your Class Bs have an opportunity to have skin in the game, literally have skin in the game.
Just a point of clarification. You've got two things going on here. You've got the mobile licensees and then the online sports wagering operators. Both of them are going to be licensed. The mobile licensees can't partner with multiple. It's the online wagering operators who can partner with multiple. The online wagering operators are not don't own the licensees in that sense. They're just licensed to do that service in the state and provide online mobile wagering in the state.
And where do they get the authority? Under what license do they have that authority?
With regard to all sort of gaming licenses in the state, and I'm talking about, in this sense, we're talking about like employee licenses. The dealers are licensed. Everybody's licensed by the commission. This is just one form of license that you are an eligible entity to provide that type of service.
Yeah, I was just, how are they in the bill?
Correct.
Let's walk that back a little bit. I know Senator has a question. I think we have the same question.
Are they in the bill, and did they get a separate, and is that license spelled out in the bill?
It is. It is.
Oh.
They're defined
What
in
page? Thank you.
91E01.
So
An online-
this is house action, is how it was defined, right? This is nothing we added.
This is how it was defined as the bill came in and how it was defined last year. And so an online sports wagering operator.
Page?
Page 10, line 1.
No, that's in the beginning. Oops.
That means an online sports wagering operator means an entity that holds a license issued by the commission under this subtitle to operate online sports wagering on behalf of a sports wagering licensee. Now, since mobile is the only one that can, you need to have a mobile license in order to offer online sports wagering, the mobile licensee is the only one that could contract with an online sports wagering operator to offer online sports wagering in the state.
So it theoretically gives more opportunities for more businesses to develop, people who can do that kind of work.
Correct. If you
Right, could be minority, maybe not, it could be anybody. It's just another part of the process.
Correct. So if you had a mobile licensee who didn't necessarily have an app set up and didn't have the infrastructure ready to go, they could go out and contract with an online sports wagering operator who is licensed to provide that service in the state, and that provider would then provide that service on behalf of the mobile licensee.
Senator Griffin.
Thanks. So just to go back to your previous statement then, just to make sure I understand, which one of those two, the online sports wagering operator or the sports wagering licensee, which one is limited in who they can work with?
The sports wagering licensee is limited
Okay.
in who they can work with.
Okay, so the other one is the app people,
Is the app.
and they can work with as many different,
Correct, if they're, yeah, right, because there aren't a lot of
That's what
apps
my
in this
concern
market.
was,
So
right.
I don't think you'd want to limit who they can work with, because otherwise you'd have licensees that may not have the ability to provide a service.
reach customers.
Yes.
Right, that was my
you
concern. So the
understand.
first one is the app people.
Correct.
Got you, thank you.
Senator Corbett, have your questions been addressed? Senator I'm sorry, yes, Senator Stelling?
Just one question. So I think we talked about this somewhat when we talked this morning about there's a limited time that the people can get the skins, and then there's a cutoff time?
I can, if you want me to address that now, Mr. Chairman, I can. The question was, is there a cutoff to when people can get a mobile license? And the answer is no, there's no cutoff. But what we want to do is we want to make sure that people are up and running with their mobile licenses. But we also want to make sure that there's meaningful, small minority, women-owned business preference there. So what we've done is, for those that are applying for a mobile license, if they meet that criteria that's being set by this sports wagering advisory commission, SWORC, if they meet that criteria, then they can get up and running. Those folks that don't meet that criteria would have a 1-year waiting time. But there's no cutoff to when you can get a mobile license, just a cutoff that if you're not making meaningful attempts and based on what SWARC's regulations say, then you would have a 1-year hold until your mobile license gets activated.
So, and just to be clear, because of the way the Richmond decision works, it's not as clear cut as that. The commission's going to evaluate remedial measures that may be taken in the market, and then one of the Senate amendments, one of the things that they'd like the commission to look at is the possibility of giving early access to the mobile market, and they'd like the commission to consider as two of the factors. One is partnerships with disadvantaged businesses. If they have meaningful partnerships with the disadvantaged businesses, they'd like the commission to consider early access for that. And then the other one is if the applicant has a demonstrated history of partnering with minority businesses and disadvantaged businesses in their current business structure. And so none of it's set in stone. The commission's going to have to issue regulations, and they have to research a study to look at the market. But these are suggestions that the committee would like the commission to consider.
Senator McCray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I should know this question, but I wasn't able to articulate it last night in reference to Class A and Class B, obviously, are physical locations that are in the state of Maryland, correct?
Correct.
And with the mobile, can you speak to, I know that there's obviously tethering that has to happen, like where's the location for the person that holds the online sports wagering operating? Like what location are they in Maryland type of thing?
They're only going to be able to operate in Maryland, but they're not going to be physically. There is no tethering between the licenses. There's the 4 physical licenses and then the mobile licenses, and anybody can apply for a mobile license, and any of the 4 groups that have physical licenses can also apply for a mobile license, and there is no cap on the mobile licenses either.
Yeah, I got that. Thank you.
Senator Edwards.
Since we're bouncing around here, I thought we were going to follow a thing here, but while we're on that, and you're talking mobile, how about A's and B's? Is there going to be a cutoff date 5 years down the road or sometime down the road on a cutoff on A's and B's?
No, so there isn't any cutoff per se. There is an end date for the commission that awards the licenses. So in theory, 2028 would be when you have to get your application in by. There is the ability to extend the lifespan of the commission. So if the legislature wants to keep the licensing period open, it can. But for now, the commission's in existence for 7 years.
So is there anything in here that after that time frame, and let's say it's 7 years, it cut off, someone, for a better way to say it, drops out, gives up their license?
Or doesn't make it.
Can someone then fill that hole?
There's no limit.
Well, there is no limit on the licenses. So the issue is if the awarding entity ceases to exist. I think that's something that the legislature is going to have to take up at some point. But to your point as to replacing licenses, there isn't any limit to licenses, so there is no need to replace anybody.
Well,
If I'm good,
you
go
just
ahead.
said after 7 years, they probably won't be anymore. My question is, if that's, unless I misunderstood you, if that's the case, and someone, for whatever reason, gives up their license or drops their license, is there a mechanism that, let's say the chairman gave his up and you wanted to apply to fill that hole, can you do that?
No, you would need to reconstitute an awarding body to award the license. So after 2028, you would need to, the commission would need to be reconstituted.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions or concerns, ideas that we need to take up?
I have one.
Yes.
See it here. It was about the, do they have to be registered to do business in the United States? Is that in the bill?
That is not, that's something that Senator Zucker, I believe, was gonna
put it in?
discuss, and
Yeah, so I was waiting for the committee members to get their thoughts out and get their questions answered. So I think it's just a clarifying amendment that if you're going to be going for a license, an online license, or even a bricks and mortar license, you would have to be a registered business in the United States. So we couldn't have these outside country entities trying to get a mobile license or a bricks and mortar. It really follows federal law, but we're just we believe, but we're just going to make it codified in state law.
Okay, I have one more question. Does it say anywhere in there, is there a limit as to how many out-of-state licenses there are? Does there need to be? I mean,
Are you talking about
People-
because you can't have a bricks and mortar license if you're not
right,
in the state.
but you could have an owner that lives out of state that buys a license for it in the state, correct?
For bricks and mortar or online?
Bricks and mortar. Well, online, either one.
Answer the bricks and mortar question first.
So I think yes. If somebody wanted to come from out of state and invest in the state to build one of these to build a sports wagering facility, they could. They couldn't. I don't think they couldn't buy more than one license, but they could buy a license to come into the state and build a sports wagering facility.
Why do you
Okay.
say they could only buy one?
I think they're limited. I believe they're limited to one brick and mortar.
But could somebody from out of state, probably not, somebody from out of state couldn't just buy like an app, like do the mobile thing, could they?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
you could have applicants from out of state
Okay.
to do the mobile licenses.
But back to the brick and mortar part, the brick and mortar isn't limited to people who are in-state, right? They could have multiple locations.
Yes, I guess under Class B they could. The Class
Right.
the Class A's would be limited.
Yeah, because they're
in
locked
scope.
up to
Yeah.
what they are.
Right. So, and I suppose once they bought property and were in the state, they wouldn't be an out-of-stater in the state. You'd now be an in-stater.
I guess that's true. So then the point about limiting it to one really wouldn't be true.
Right.
So there really isn't a limit then.
Right.
Because what-
The B's.
because
No. Right. Correct. Sorry.
Right.
Sorry. The A's do. The B's don't.
Gotcha. Senator Young,
I was just checking on the professional teams. It says professional Major League Baseball, but for football, it just says professional.
Oh.
There are, I don't know if we have any now, we have professional football teams at lower levels. So
The idea with the lower levels that this language was drafted to capture the two professional football teams and the professional baseball team. The work group did discuss what to do with minor league teams and non-professional teams. Not the question.
No.
Oh, sorry.
It says professional Major League Baseball teams. On the football, it doesn't say that. It says professional.
doesn't say National Football League is what you're saying.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Page 25.
So I think if you just mean Redskins and Ravens, you need to put another word in there.
Instead of professional football, you
Say
want
National Football League,
professional national football, or
whatever the right term.
Oh, I don't know, on this page it doesn't say that. Does it say that somewhere else?
it's referenced throughout, and this was the language the House had added. On page 25, it refers to them as professional football or professional Major League Baseball.
No, that's my point. That's not what it says.
Oh.
It
What
says
page- excuse-
professional football or professional Major League Baseball.
I believe that.
So if you want just the NFL teams, you should put that in there because there can be minor league professional teams, and they would be eligible the way this is written, if I'm reading it correctly.
Okay.
I mean, you could just insert NFL.
Okay, we will insert NFL.
Very
On
good.
what page were you looking at?
I was looking at 25,
Okay. So,
I think.
at a stadium used for NFL, National Football League football?
Just say professional NFL football.
What other leagues are there?
There aren't right now, but there have been and certainly could be
No,
again.
it was
Also,
rhetorical. It was rhetorical.
wasn't
Sorry.
there a professional football indoor team?
Yeah, CFL.
Baltimore had a professional indoor football team for a while. I don't know if they still do.
They did, yeah. Senator
So-
Salling?
NFL, if you want to limit it that.
You have minor league baseball teams, you have minor league basketball teams, you have women football teams, you have the NFL, and that's all you have. You have the Canadian League. You had the USFL, you have other teams. But if you want to be specific, you're just going to say the National Football League, and it covers it.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
All right, very good. Antlers or not? All right. Anybody else? Senator,
Freestyling,
we're
right?
freestyling.
Okay. Where's the language for Ocean Downs?
The hotel.
The hotel. Should be at the end. Oh, no, it's in the beginning. Let me find it.
Buried somewhere
Yeah.
in the sand.
It is on page 6 of 39. It is the section 91A36. And just to be clear, this provision would repeal the prohibition that
Okay.
prevents a hotel being built within 10 miles of the Ocean Downs facility.
Okay.
But no miniature golf.
Miniature golf will still be prohibited.
What about go-karts?
Amusement rides are prohibited, arcades are prohibited.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
I
Bouncy
think
houses.
those would fall into amusement rides or park.
Do you have another question, Senator?
Yeah, I just wanted to go to that, 39, I guess, 39.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, let me see. A company, if they have, I see you have, which is good. I mean, I just think this expedited process for people who have a history of working with MBEs in here is good. And I think that solves a lot of the issues that we have here. And so this SWARC will sit down and decide, right, these kind of issues?
Correct.
Okay, so we don't have to codify anything, okay.
39.
think I'm on the wrong
I think he was
page.
on page 35 of
35, I
39.
think, yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to. Okay, so you have to have a meaningful partnership in one category or demonstrated history. And that would expedite the license, potentially.
Potentially.
Early access, okay. I think that's excellent. All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Certainly. Senator McCray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Matt, I'm looking at page 20, and we talked about the secondary subs. I'm looking at line 8, where it talks about on or before 6 months after the issuance of a sports wagering license under the subtitle, blah, blah, blah. We talked about that being one of the conditions of the SWARC in reference to these mobile licenses, that we look at that on the front end, not 6 months after. Is that addressed in this revised bill?
Yeah, SWORC should be looking at this. What this is saying is after that license gets issued, and this applies to all the licenses.
Right.
We're going to have 3 groups come together: the small minority, the Office of Small Minority and Business and Women Business Affairs, the Attorney General's office, and the licensee, and they're going to look at their operations. And they're going to say, what are reasonable MBE goals for this particular licensee to meet moving forward? I think the idea of it being 6 months isn't necessarily that nobody's looking at it on the front end. It's that once the license gets issued, you need to have time for these 3 groups to come together and establish the goals that this licensee is going to meet moving forward.
Yep, and I asked the question because in House Bill 940, the original version, folks were concerned about this provision and that it wasn't covered under the initial application. So did we clarify that in this bill, that this will be one of the things that the SWARC will be looking at on the front end? I get that this is still happening, but that was a level of concern that was brought up.
Yes, the prior MBE participation and current partnerships are one of the things that SWARC's going to be considering, and so those are going to be things that the applicants are going to be declaring as part of the license structure. And with the mobiles, they're going to want to declare things like that because that could potentially get you early access to the market.
Got it. Thank you.
Just, if you also look on page 12, so we're going to have the same criteria for, I think what Mr. Bennett was talking about with the bricks and mortar. If you look on page 12, line 6, we outline what the intent of the General Assembly is around minorities, women, and minority-owned women businesses. And that's up front. Yep. Okay. Got it.
Senator Edwards.
Yeah, I know this probably wasn't in top of your cheat sheet there, Matthew, but I asked you last night to check to see if you could put some wording where the SWARF board is commissioned.
Right.
That they have to at least consider or look at. I don't know how you write it.
I had the stick-it note on my computer, and there was no need for the amendment because I missed it last night. If you look at page 32, and you look at lines 12 through 14, the membership of the Sports Wagering Application Review Commission appointed under this subsection should reflect the race, gender, and geographic diversity of the population of the state.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry I missed that last night.
I forgive you.
We're just anticipating your every need, Senator. Senator Stelling.
I know they have a time frame for the 7 people that will be on the board. Do we already have that in place?
There's no time frame. The hope is we've made this the amendments make this an emergency bill. Given everything that's going on here, hopefully leadership and the governor are in control of the appointments. We would hope that they would appoint as soon as possible.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Going once. Going twice.
Move favorable.
Well, wait. I want to check with Senator Zucker. He provided one technical amendment about the international. Did you have any other technical amendments?
There's, I don't have any other amendments, but there was something I just wanted to get the committee's feedback on, just in case I'm asked about it on the floor. I just want to make sure that we're making a conscious decision that if you have someone apply, and I know we've discussed this already, I just want clarification. If you have someone apply for a license and it's rejected, we're making that application fee non-refundable. Now, you have to realize that in this bill as amended, we also make sure that if someone has already been vetted through the process, they don't have to pay double for the background check. So we've covered them on that. I just wanted to get the committee sign off that if you've paid for the license, if you paid for a license and somehow it's rejected, that it's the will of the committee that the application fee is non-refundable. And part of the thought on that is that I believe it was the intent of the committee as budget and taxation on this revenue that we're going to, once we get it, we're going to basically try to spend it. So that was the thought process there. So I'm just kind of throwing it out to the committee and see if, is there a will of the committee in terms of there's something you want to do on the application fee, if you want to return it or keep it.
I think we need to keep it. And the reason for that is that I think the responsibility has to be on the person that is applying for the license. So, I mean, I think as a good business decision, that we need to keep it.
So when you're applying, the only thing that could kick you out is if you have a bad background check, or you don't come up with all the money, or what else?
You would need to show some you're running a gambling operation, so you would need to show some financial security that you're gonna be able to pay off the bets that you're taking. This did come up in my conversations with lottery because we are talking about smaller entities applying, and they do have the ability to take surety bonds. So there are financial vehicles to cover entities that may not have the capital that may have capital issues facing barriers to entry.
But before they can start actively betting, do they have to prove that they've got the money to pay off bets, or?
Yes, before they even get the license, they're going to have to prove that they have the financial ability to be in this business. And that's where the Lottery Commission has done this before, but when they evaluated the casinos, and so the lottery can handle that piece of it.
Senator Alfred.
Just briefly, Mr. Chair, thank you. I think the application fee is meant to cover the state's cost of reviewing the fee and the state resources that go into that. So I would argue that I think it's the reasonable measure for us to keep that fee.
Senator Young.
I think it's reasonable only if you spell out the guidelines. You can't ask somebody to put up $500,000, $1 million and turn them down when they don't know what the guidelines to be approved for are. There should be, if you meet these 3, these 4, whatever criteria, you will get a license.
Absolutely. Lottery is going to be the decision maker, so lottery will be issuing what those standards are.
Yeah. Because it would be pretty tough to take somebody's $1 million and then just say, no, we're not giving you a license, we're keeping your $1 million. And if they don't know what it is they had to meet going in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We have, so the remaining issue that's still out there is that this bill generates some money. Certainly generates money in the first year, but we don't know exactly how much it's going to generate. We've already established one thing within the bill, $3 million for the HBCUs. It's my opinion that we need to, the only things that we can do with this money that's generated is education-based. Because I think that's what we told the voters. So that's one. The second thing, though, that I would suggest that we look at and do is that there were a series of things for 22 that were not funded in the blueprint. Although the vast amount of the blueprint has been funded, there are a few things that have not been funded. And I would suggest that we can use this money to the degree it comes in for some of those things that were not funded. And I think Matt has that amendment described.
Correct. So at the very end on unnumbered pages, it's 3 pages from the end, it's section 6. This turns the bill into a supplementary appropriation to direct money to the accountability and implementation board. These were projects I think identified in the budget that were fenced off in the blueprint fund.
Right.
And so these are better defined there, but it's the accountability and implementation board, the model curriculum and instructional materials, expert review teams, career and technology education committee, blueprint for Maryland's future program training, and Maryland State Department of Education financial system.
So my understanding is that that list probably equals somewhere in the neighborhood of $10 million. We've already just taken 3 for the HBCU.
Can I just clarify the HBCU funding?
Yep.
That is not coming out of the sports, that's not coming out of the blueprint fund at all, or the revenue that we're getting from this. It would be general fund
As
appropriation.
the general fund, we ended up going with general funds on that one.
It's just requiring an appropriation in 23. The governor can pick what pot to direct it from.
Okay, so it could come from, I mean, it certainly wouldn't come from the blueprint, but it would, but theoretically, it could come from the general fund. It could come from the revenues generated from this. Theoretically.
Yes, it would depend what those restrictions are on the blueprint fund.
Oh, right, because this does, the remainder would then just go straight into the blueprint.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I'm not sure if it can be used for
Okay,
higher ed.
yep. So, okay, so then really the focus is on these items that are outlined in the bill. And this is just for 1 year.
Correct. This is just fiscal 22.
And it's, again, just what may come in. And we don't know what we're going to get exactly. Senator?
2 questions. One, could you give me the page number again that it listed on?
Sorry about this, but it's 2 pages in front of 39. So go to the very last page and then come back 2 pages.
Okay.
And then down at the bottom, section 6.
It's the
Got it.
same.
I see it.
It's the same things we put in the budget.
Yeah. I just wanted to look at the list.
No different. Correct?
Correct. Where I cut and
And
pasted.
so, it all makes sense. I think it's a great idea. My question is, why do we think the money that's likely to come in is around $10 million? How does the math get there?
Say again?
How does the math get to around $10 million?
The cost of those things.
No, I'm talking from the income side.
We don't know.
I know we don't know.
Right. So it will, as I understand the amendment, in priority order from top to bottom.
Right.
It'll start funding.
Oh, okay, well, that was really one of my questions. So,
Yep.
so these are in priority order.
Correct. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Senator Zucker.
I was going to add that we know what some income's coming in, because we're going to have the A's 1 and 2 go up quickly with the 5% going into the fund. So we're going to have, 10. We have, maybe it looks like six A1s and then 3 A2s. So you're talking about, over $10 million that's going to be coming in almost instantaneously once these licenses go up.
Presumably. I'm a bird in hand kind of guy. Once we get it, we got it.
So let's go get it.
All right, so with all the amendments that have been discussed, I'll take a motion. Made it favorable as amended. All right, all those in favor? Unanimous. work group. Senator Zucker chairing it, all the members, thank you very much. Outstanding work. I appreciate everything you've done. And let's take this to the floor. Will we have it for tomorrow's?
DLS pre-prepared the amendments, so I will incorporate these tweaks, and yeah, everything should be good to go tomorrow morning.
Very good. Senator Zucker, it's all yours. All right, thank you, everybody. Anybody have any other questions, anything going on I need to be aware of?
Voting tomorrow.
Voting tomorrow, we have, I think, scheduled, we would be between, it would be between sessions, assuming there is a between session. Okay? Very good. Thank you all. Have a great night.